we need to talk about quiet sabotage or destruction of property that happens when the abuser realizes that you are breaking up with them or that you're not coming back to them. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones, and I've spent many years working with victims of abuse as well as perpetrators of abuse. And one of the things that we don't talk about enough is things that abusers will do to really try to sabotage you as you're leaving, as you're done, or even after a period of time has passed and you felt like they've moved on, and they sort of quietly and sneakily attacked you in a number of ways. And so and I'm sure a lot of you have different experiences, and let me give you some examples of what I mean. Like, so many years ago, and this was back when I was, gosh, maybe I was like 19 or 20. I used to work with a guy back when I used to work in a grocery store. And one of the things, he kept trying to ask me out, and my answer was no, we can stay friends. And, I was naive then. So I think I was like, again, 19 or 20. And I said, no, we can stay friends. And I thought we were friends, strictly platonic. But then I went on and, I was dating other people and things like that. And one of the things, I noticed one of these guys came, we were going out and came by, and he cussed me out, and I'm like, I can understand what, first of all, I don't allow that, but it was just super weird that he would do that. And so I found out later on that the guy that I thought was a male friend, he was secretly going behind my back and telling people that I was dating all of this crazy stuff, and even to this day I don't even know the extent of what he was talking about. But then one day I confronted him on it, and he was completely delusional. He's like, yeah, I'm jealous. And I was just like, okay, this person is lost all stability. I don't even know who you are. It just got it was clear that this guy was not rational at all, and just had this different idea in his head, and wanted to essentially sabotage every relationship. And he wasn't even someone I had ever dated or ever had any interest in dating. He was strictly a platonic friend, but because he wanted to be with me, he wanted to be with me and couldn't be, he didn't want anybody else to do it either. So that's an example. But then there's also, so that's a ruining of a reputation, but then there's also this ruining of property or destructiveness around property. So one of the things that will happen, again, once there's a breakup or a person is on their way out, sometimes people will destroy your property, your actual physical property. And I've heard some horror stories. An example would be people that pour sugar in gas tanks and things like that, so they want to mess up the engine of your car. Or back in the day, I think in movies, I think it used to show that there was an explosion or something that would happen, so they would do these things. Or puncture your car tires, or come in your house and steal things, steal your physical property. I've even known one woman, she was, and this wasn't a patient or anything, but, I've known one woman to whereas she's bought a man things, shoes or something, throughout the course of the relationship. And when the relationship was over, she broke in his home and stole all of the stuff that she bought him back. And so that there's been that, or, other cases of people that I've worked with, it would be something like arson, where they've set a person's house on fire, or where they've set a person's car on fire, or just even something that they may have purchased for them, again, they've stolen it or something like that. And not necessarily even that, but they just they want to sabotage your property. They want to, they're very destructive. And I always say, based on my experience of working with criminals, one of the most severe traits, one of the traits that indicate someone is has some severe pathology, is destruction of property. So if you have someone that's punching holes in walls, kicking in doors, setting things on fire, or destroying property, and things like that in some way, and mind you, I recognize that all people can people can get hot and get into conflict, but again, when you get to the level of destruction of property, you need to be very careful, because that person is very dangerous. And I've known people personally, and I'm kind of like, I don't really like stuff like that, because as a grown adult, you should be able to manage your emotions and never destroy a person's property or intentionally trying to harm them. Another example of things that I've encountered is cutting brake lines, or booby trapping someone's house or something like that. There's been some cases that I've worked on where things have gotten really like crazy, or a person has a really a history of doing some really severe things. But I think destruction of property is definitely an indication of severe pathology, because it doesn't take much for a person to escalate from destruction of property to an attempt to destruct you, to kill you, or do some serious physical damage, because that means that they don't have the wherewithal to control themselves. So be very careful of people that are like that.